A gang with ties to Juarez, Mexico, one of the deadliest cities in the world. They have been terrorizing OKC neighborhoods since the 1970s. Here are some of the recent perps facing new charges.
A combination of 8 different Hoover Crip gang members have been robbing Tulsa businesses since 2009. But all that has now come to an end. All 8 men are now behind bars and facing federal indictments.
125 Oklahoma inmates convicted for drug trafficking while behind bars and being tied to the Irish mob. And their leader.
Gang violence and organized criminal activity in Oklahoma have been persistent issues over the years, with various gangs like the Hoover Crips, Juaritos, and the Universal Aryan Brotherhood making headlines for their involvement in racketeering, drug trafficking, and brutal deletions. This article highlights some of the most notorious gang-related incidents in Oklahoma, ranging from the Hoover Crips' criminal enterprise in Ardmore to the demise of Connor Huckabee, allegedly orchestrated by members of the Universal Aryan Brotherhood as part of an ongoing gang war.
Well, the court records show Connor Huckabee's murder of a gang war between the United Aryan Brothers and the Bloods. And the documents add this war has been going on for about 3 years. A gang war, court records reveal, has been going on since 2019, turning deadly in Oklahoma City. The new documents show Connor Huckabee, who had a handful of previous charges, is a Blood gang member. According to investigators, Facebook messages show back in November he was lured out of his Metro hotel room by Danielle Velez. Surveillance video shows Huckabee then get into a truck Velez said she would be driving, and the truck speed away. The next morning, Huckabee was found on the side of South Richland Road. Court records reveal Kyle Morris and Rusty Williams are high-ranking members of the Universal Aryan Brotherhood in order to hit on a Blood gang member. The records go on to say at least 8 UAB members were involved in beating the Blood in a parking lot, where Huckabee was forced to humiliate himself and denounce the Blood gang, and was stabbed by James Selman. The gang then drove Huckabee to this remote intersection, according to court documents, where Jordan Shaw shot him in a rifle and Dominic Selman shot him in the face and left him lying on the side of the road. Then the UAB members came back to Morris's wife at Jacqueline Steiner's house, where documents show she paid them for their role.
9 suspects have been charged in connection with the November 2021 demise of Connor Huckabee in Oklahoma City, according to recently filed court documents. On November 27, 2021, police were called to the intersection of Southwest 44th Street and Richmond Road at 252 a.m., where they discovered Huckabee's body. He had been shot multiple times. Investigators reviewed Huckabee's communications, including his Textno account and Facebook profile, to trace his interactions around the time of it. Court documents reveal that Huckabee exchanged messages with Danielle Velez shortly before the incident. The two arranged to meet at the hotel where Huckabee was staying, and hotel surveillance confirmed the meeting. The footage also captured Huckabee entering a white Ford F-150, which matched the description Velez had provided him. The video shows Huckabee trying to exit the vehicle several times as it drove off. This was the last time Huckabee was seen alive before his body was discovered. Danielle Velez was arrested on January 5, 2022, followed by the arrest of James Selman on February 10, 2022, after his phone records placed him at both the hotel and the location where Huckabee's body was found. According to court documents, Huckabee was allegedly a member of the Bloods gang. The investigation revealed that 2 senior members of the Universal Aryan Brotherhood, Kyle Morris and Rusty Williams, had ordered the deletion of a Bloods member as part of an ongoing gang war which had been escalating since mid-2019. Filed records indicate that after Huckabee was taken in the truck, he was beaten by the group in a parking lot. During the attack, Huckabee was reportedly forced to renounce his affiliation with the Bloods gang. He was then transported to the intersection where his body was later found. According to court documents, Jordan Shaw shot Huckabee with a rifle, and Dominic Selman shot him twice. The group allegedly gathered at the home of Kyle Morris's wife, Jacqueline Steiner, before and after the deletion. Court records suggest that Steiner paid the group for their involvement in the deletion, although she has not yet been arrested. 9 of the 12 Hoover Crips members arrested during a multi-agency raid in Ardmore faced serious charges. Each member was given a $300,000 bond, with the condition that any release would require wearing an ankle monitor. The group was charged with conspiracy to violate Oklahoma's Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. This felony charge alleged that they, along with other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, conspired as members of the Hoover Crips gang of Ardmore to violate racketeering laws by participating in organized criminal activity. The indictment detailed the structure and initiation process of the Hoover Crips gang. Prospective members are required to put in work by committing various crimes before being initiated into the gang. These crimes typically include assault, witness intimidation, drug distribution, drive-by shootings, possession of firearms during the commission of felonies, armed robbery, and burglary. Once deemed eligible, new recruits undergo a violent initiation ritual known as being jumped in, where several existing gang members physically assault them to test their toughness and commitment. After initiation, members are expected to continue engaging in criminal activities to acquire weapons, defend the gang, and further its reputation. The gang's violent reputation serves to intimidate other gangs in the local community, making witnesses less likely to cooperate with law enforcement or testify in court. Failure to participate in criminal activity or follow gang orders results in internal discipline, known as court. Senior members of the gang preside over these sessions, where disobedient members face physical punishment, loss of status, or expulsion from the gang. Maintaining a strict code of silence is also mandatory, and members are expected not to cooperate with law enforcement, even when they are victims of crimes. In such cases, the gang handles revenge internally. The documents also revealed that senior Hoover Crips members routinely examine court records from Carter County to identify individuals who might be cooperating with authorities.
125 Oklahoma inmates convicted for drug trafficking while behind bars and being tied to the Irish mob. And their leader, investigators say it is David Postel, the brother of Gilbert Postel, who was just put to death in the state of Oklahoma for several years. David Postel also sentenced to life in prison for his roles in those. Over the past 5 years, several law enforcement agencies performed wiretaps on phones that inmates smuggled into prison.
A 5-year statewide investigation into the criminal operations of the Irish Mob gang, an Oklahoma-based prison gang, has led to the conviction of 125 defendants across multiple federal cases. Among those convicted were more than a dozen high-ranking incarcerated members of the gang. The 125 convicted Irish mob members and associates faced charges that included drug trafficking, drug conspiracy, money laundering, witness retaliation, witness tampering, maintaining drug premises, illegal firearms possession, and drug possession, among others. One defendant received a life sentence, while 113 others were collectively sentenced to over 1,350 years in federal prison. 7 lower-level defendants were sentenced to a total of 33 years probation in federal court, while 2 others received 15-year deferred sentences in state court. 2 defendants are still awaiting sentencing. Notable defendants include David Postel, 39, the head of the Irish mob, who ran a large-scale drug trafficking ring from a maximum security prison cell using contraband phones. He was found responsible for distributing over 270 kilograms and was sentenced to life in federal prison. Chad Hudson, 41, who led the Irish mob before Postel, was responsible for distributing kilograms from within prison. Hudson was sentenced to 348 months in federal prison. Zachary Clark, 31, an Irish mob member, distributed kilograms while incarcerated. He also repeatedly attempted to intimidate witnesses, leading to a 480-month federal prison sentence. Aaron Keith, 40, another Irish mob member, was convicted of conspiracy to distribute and was involved in acts of violence, including the stabbing of a suspected gang informant. Keith was sentenced to 480 months in federal prison. Virgilio Velasquez, 44, a drug supplier for the Irish mob, was convicted of drug trafficking and money laundering. Upon his arrest, over 100 firearms were found in his possession, with evidence linking him to trafficking firearms to Mexico and an attempted deletion. Velasquez was sentenced to 310 months in federal prison. Nico Davis, 30, and Richard Coker, 39, were implicated in violent criminal activities. Davis was arrested for attempting to pistol whip someone on Coker's orders in exchange for drugs. Davis was sentenced to 84 months, while Coker received 360 months for his role in the drug conspiracy. Jade Nichols, 26, was convicted of multiple crimes, including unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, witness tampering, and witness retaliation. Nichols, along with Chad Clark, 36, assaulted a cooperating defendant, and both are awaiting sentencing. The investigation also uncovered Irish mob connections to a Mexican-based drug supplier, drug couriers, money launderers, and even 2 state prison guards who were involved in the gang's operations. Throughout the investigation, Irish mob members made death threats against 2 prosecutors, forcing law enforcement to implement heightened security measures. The use of wiretaps also allowed authorities to prevent dozens of potential violent acts, including including shootings, kidnappings, and assaults.
Well, Scott, police say all 8 men are Hoover Crip gang members, and they robbed banks, pharmacies, and credit unions, including the largest bank heist in Tulsa history. Investigators say they were organized, professional takeover-type robberies that were always dangerous. Last September's robbery of this Tulsa Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union was the largest in Tulsa's history when the suspects made off with $170,000. The men went in wearing masks, carrying guns, shouting orders, jumping over the counter, even fired a shot near a teller that broke a glass partition before they headed for the vault. Police say a combination of 8 different Hoover Crip gang members had been robbing Tulsa businesses since 2009. But all that has now come to an end. All 8 men are now behind bars and facing federal indictments. Police say the robberies often involve 2, 3, or 4 of the gang members at a time. They say they robbed the IBC Bank at 42nd and South Garnett in August of 2009, as well as the Dooley Pharmacy in West Tulsa in February of 2010. And the T. Roy Barnes Pharmacy, the Metro Pharmacy, both times using stolen cars as their getaways, always demanding not just money, but also drugs. And finally, they say the men robbed the Arvest Bank at 218 South Memorial in November of last year. Robbery detectives say they haven't seen anything like this crew in decades.
Tulsa police have arrested 8 gang members accused of carrying out a series of highly violent robberies. The arrests come after a year-long investigation involving the Tulsa Police Robbery Unit, the FBI, and the Northern Oklahoma Violent Fugitive Task Force. Authorities confirmed that all 8 men are affiliated with the Hoover Crips gang and have been involved in robbing banks, pharmacies, and credit unions. Their string of crimes includes the largest bank robbery in Tulsa's history. Investigators describe the robberies as highly organized and dangerous, resembling professional takeover operations. One of the most significant heists occurred last September at the Tulsa Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union, where the suspects stole $170,000, marking the largest robbery in the city's history. During the raid, the masked men, armed with guns, stormed the building, issued threats, and even fired a shot that shattered a glass partition near a teller before they accessed the vault. In September 2011, a related incident saw a thief firing a shot during the robbery of a Tulsa credit union. According to law enforcement, the 8 Hoover Crip members have been terrorizing businesses across Tulsa since 2009, but their crime spree has now come to an end with their arrests and federal indictments. "This is a great day for the people of Tulsa," said Sergeant Brandon Watkins of the Tulsa Police Department. These individuals have been extremely active since 2009, committing numerous violent robberies. Police noted that the robberies often involve 2 to 4 gang members working together.
Also tonight, prosecutors slapped 30 gang members with racketeering charges as police exposed one of the most violent street gangs in Oklahoma City.
With more than 230 members, the Juaritos make up the 3rd largest Hispanic gang here in the city. Michael Konopasek spent time on their turf. He joins us now with more. Michael?
Well, Kelly and Amanda, police say there are 2 areas in Oklahoma City that are controlled by the gang. People living in those areas are in terror. They say the gangsters are in complete control. What they say goes, crime. It's a daily occurrence.
The gangbangers have taken over.
Jerry Scott has lived in southeast Oklahoma City for 37 years. She says her neighborhood has gotten worse and worse.
I don't know how to explain it. It's just they're in control. When the dark comes, you get in the house.
She's talking about the Juaritos, a gang with ties to Juarez, Mexico, one of the deadliest cities in the world. They have been terrorizing OKC neighborhoods since the 1970s. Here are some of the recent perps facing new charges. Police say these men and their gang buddies have saturated 2 distinct areas of OKC. The first, the top of the town, from Southeast 15th to Southeast 25th and South High Avenue to I-35. The second, West Side, from Northwest 16th to Main and I-44 to Western.
Prosecutors have charged 30 alleged gang members with racketeering as authorities uncovered one of Oklahoma City's most violent street gangs. With over 230 members, the Juaritos are considered the 3rd largest Hispanic gang in the city. According to police, the gang is taking control of 2 areas in Oklahoma City, leaving residents in fear. Locals say the gang dominates the streets, and crime has become an everyday occurrence. The gang members have taken over, said Jerry Scott, a longtime resident of southeast Oklahoma City. Scott, who has lived in the neighborhood for 37 years, said the situation has steadily deteriorated. "I don't know how else to explain it," Scott said. "They're in control. When it gets dark, you stay inside." The Juaritos, with ties to Juarez, Mexico, one of the most dangerous cities in the world, have been terrorizing Oklahoma City neighborhoods since the 1970s. Police report that the gang has saturated two specific areas of the city. The first is an area known as Top of the Town, which extends from Southeast 15th Street to Southeast 25th Street and from South High Avenue to I-35. The second is the West Side, spanning from Northwest 16th Street to Main Street and from I-44 to Western Avenue. "I saw a crime just the other day," said James Hudson, another Southeast Oklahoma City resident. "I saw something go down. Not far from a playground near South High Avenue in the Top of the Town area, graffiti marking Juaritos territory is visible. They did a drive-by just around the corner," said Carla Rodriguez, another resident. Residents in these gang-controlled areas believe the Juaritos hold more power than the police. Scott shared how life has worsened in the neighborhood, revealing that her car has been stolen twice recently. Just days ago, someone siphoned gas from a truck. Police initiated their investigation into the Juaritos in October 2011 after a surge in drive-by shootings.
The men are members of the 107 Hoover Crips street gang.
Jennifer, these four men are no strangers to the Justice Department. Law enforcement agencies are hoping this will finally be the thing that helps keep these men off the streets. Laurel Battle, his cousin Paul Battle, Thomas Jackson, and Gaywan Blades are all charged with conspiring to distribute. According to the indictment, they would use apartments near 61st and Peoria as houses. The gang members had an extensive operation. Two are also charged with using guns while trafficking. These men are Hoover Crips gang members and have a lengthy criminal history with Tulsa police.
These people have been on the radar. They go to the penitentiary, get out, and continue to do the same things that they were doing before.
We attempt to work them even.
Veteran TPD Sergeant Sean Larkin says he's been chasing Laurel since he started working with the department. In fact, Laurel was once charged with it was dismissed after a witness failed to show up to court.
To finally, I guess, since him get his due day in court, and on something I think is a really solid case. I mean, I'm really glad to see it.
A federal grand jury has indicted 4 members of the Tulsa-based 107 Hoover Crips street gang on charges of trafficking large amounts of drugs. These gang members, all well known to the Justice Department, are at the center of an investigation that law enforcement hopes will finally keep them off the streets. According to the indictment, they used apartments near 61st and Peoria as drug houses to run their extensive drug operation. The fact that they back up their drug sales with violence makes these individuals the kind of people you have to get off the streets, said U.S. Attorney Danny Williams. The indicted men have a long history of criminal activity in Tulsa, with ties to violent crimes. They're involved in everything you can imagine, from drug dealing to robberies, burglaries, stolen cars, homicides, and shootings with intent to delete, said Sergeant Sean Larkin of the Tulsa Police Gang Unit. 3 of the men have previously served prison sentences for drug-related offenses. They go to prison, get out, and go right back to the same criminal activities. Sergeant Larkin, who has been tracking Laurel Battle for years, noted that Battle was previously charged with deletion, but the case was dismissed when a key witness failed to appear in court. Oklahoma's long battle with organized crime and gang violence continues to have devastating impacts on communities across the state. These cases serve as a grim reminder of the entrenched nature of these gangs and the violence they perpetuate, both inside and outside of prison walls. With law enforcement agencies working together on multi-year investigations and court proceedings, there is hope that some of these violent groups will be dismantled. However, the persistence of these criminal enterprises underscores the challenges that remain in combating gang-related violence and securing the safety of Oklahoma's neighborhoods.